New tonight, video shows the moment two cars collided, leading to the tragic loss of life on the Baltimore Beltway. What the short clip reveals about the horrific crash. Plus, a story first broken by FOX45 News.
The public was notified.
DPW has been in total compliance.
We follow every regulation.
See the evidence we uncovered that shows that wasn't the case during the September 2022 E. coli contamination, leading to a boil water advisory on Labor Day. Gun violence in Baltimore.
People are scared, people are frustrated.
At least 9 people are shot and 1 is killed. Now there are renewed calls for a different approach to help keep young people safe. Plus, a judge rules on a COVID vaccine mandate issued by the president, what it means for more than 100,000 federal workers in Maryland.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Breaking right now at 10 o'clock, 2 people are shot, this time in Upton in Baltimore. 1 man is in critical condition, that according to Baltimore City Police. This is video from Druid Hill Avenue. The crime scene stretches to Utah Place, where those shots were fired. Right now, there's no information on suspects. Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. Tonight's violence, just the latest addition to what could turn out to be one of the most violent days of the year. 11 people have been shot since midnight.
Yeah, and that includes 7 victims in 2 West Baltimore shootings. Tonight, there are calls for change in how the city approaches crime.
Fox 45's Jeff Abel now with the latest on the multiple investigations and some reaction as well. Jeff?
Well, you know, officers in this city have been running since midnight. That's when the bullets started flying in every corner of the city, especially in the city's west side, where tonight there are questions about the city's latest crime-fighting strategy. It was mid-afternoon when another round of gunfire rocked the city's west side, this time in the 200 block of North Monroe, where 1 woman was raced to the hospital with a gunshot wound, a motive still unknown.
I have 2 more number 1 males that have been shot.
Just hours earlier, another round of gunfire turned this Edmondson Avenue strip mall into the scene of the city's latest mass shooting. 1 gunshot victim dead, 5 others are in the hospital. A motive still unknown.
Right now, it's about the drugs. It's about the drug use.
On the other side of the city this afternoon, gunshots injured a 46-year-old on Barclay Street. And at a business here on Eastern Avenue, police say an employee pulled a gun on a man who attempted to rob the place. A scuffle ensued, and the suspect was shot in the leg.
It's sad that we wait until it's our child to feel the necessity to cry and to get involved.
7 of today's victims were shot on the city's west side, a district which is the first in Baltimore impacted by the city's new group violence reduction strategy, a strategy which targets those with the potential for gun violence, and a strategy which the city plans to duplicate in other areas.
And you replicate that success, that will bring our violence down in the city continuously.
If city leaders are so much in a bubble that they think things are going well, they need to get out and talk to people on the streets.
While the city's homicide rate is down from this time last year, former federal prosecutor Thiru Vignarajah says it's hardly time to declare victory, especially after today's mass shooting, the 3rd mass shooting of the year.
Between them, we have multiple fatalities. Between them, we have multiple children, teenagers that have been shot, and yet we're not even hearing from our city leadership. That's not leadership, that's pathetic.
Well, at least 2 of today's victims are teenagers. So far, no arrest. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
All right, Jeff, thank you. Well, as Jeff mentioned, the expansion of GVRS, the program planned on expanding to the Central and Southwestern police districts in the first 3 months of the year. The Central is where tonight's double shooting just happened. Mayor Brandon Scott hails the program as a way to identify people involved in group violence, offering them a path to a different life. But the data, whether the program is directly driving crime down, is inconclusive.
There's new information tonight in the Beltway crash that killed 6 state highway workers in Woodlawn, Baltimore County. Fox 45 News has video of the collision leading up to the tragedy, but we won't show the aftermath. Fox 45's Keith Daniels is live right now and examines the video and what it reveals about this horrific crash. Keith?
Well, Kai, it's a story that's resonating among many people, some of them on our social media platform, sharing their well wishes to the families of those who lost loved ones in that crash. And tonight, a closer look into the seconds leading up to that moment. The fatal crash on the west side of the Baltimore Beltway in Woodlawn. At the site, a dark-colored Acura driven by 54-year-old Lisa Lee, investigators say, seen flipped upside down in the work zone. An incident Wednesday that left 6 construction workers dead. Tonight, traffic cam video of the crash obtained by FOX45 News. Look closely. Lee's Acura collides with a white Volkswagen, the second vehicle involved in the crash, driven, investigators say, by 20-year-old Malachi Brown. According to Maryland State Police, Lee's Acura merged from lane 2 into lane 1, the fast lane, colliding with Brown's white car in lane 1. We've chosen to freeze the aftermath. But investigators say the collision caused Lee's Acura to flip into the median, where the 6-member road crew was busy in an active work zone. Lee rushed to an area hospital where she's recovering. The construction workers killed.
This is a tragic work zone incident that we have never seen before. This is a catastrophic incident where 6 lives were taken who were out there working to better our highways.
The victims, 1 woman and 5 men, their ages ranging from 31 to 52 years old, including father and son, Malon Simmons II and Malon Simmons III of Union Bridge. We tried reaching out to family members for them to perhaps share memories of their loved ones. They declined. Well, state police say once the investigation is complete, they will turn their findings over to the Baltimore County State's Attorney's Office, who will then determine whether charges will be filed. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. You can see the video for yourself at foxbaltimore.com, along with information on the victims who were killed.
Well, more troubles tonight for the Baltimore Department of Public Works as Fox 45 continues to press the department on lingering issues like September's E. coli contamination and pending legal action regarding the city's bi-weekly recycling pickup.
It's frustrating when you elect representatives to do a job and that job is ignored. And that's just the position that the mayor is putting us in.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has the recycling update. That's at 10:30. But first, a Fox 45 News exclusive. Newly obtained information shows Baltimore City violated state and federal regulations during the September E. coli contamination. That's according to the state. Mackenzie Frost has been investigating this issue for months and explains why the city still says nothing was wrong.
In the letter we obtained from the Maryland Department of Environment, it says the city violated the rules and regulations when it comes to the E. coli contamination itself. But then the state also says the city violated the rules when it failed to notify the public in time. But the city argues it did everything right.
This letter sent to the Department of Public Works in November, telling the agency there were 2 violations, the E. coli in the water samples, and then failing to notify the public their water may be contaminated within 24 hours of knowing about the hazard. This letter sent exactly 2 weeks after Fox 45 News' investigation aired, showing DPW leaders may have misrepresented the response to the E. coli outbreak. All based on emails Fox 45 News obtained showing how long DPW waited to tell the public about the contamination and restricted communication with the press about information. Confirmation of the federal public notice violation is not how DPW Director Jason Mitchell and Mayor Brennan Scott described the communication with the city, even when asked about the timing.
Once DPW received that confirmation, the public was notified.
2 days later,
DPW has been in total compliance with EPA and MDE guidelines regarding notifications.
We follow every regulation working with our state partners, and they will tell you that we follow every regulation.
And again on September 9th.
We're going to follow every rule and every regulation.
When the second positive test samples came back Sunday, September 4th, the 24-hour notification clock started. DPW notified the Maryland Department of Environment by noon, but it would be more than 24 hours before the city agency notified the entire public, despite emails showing the state told DPW to issue a boil water advisory Sunday night multiple times. September 5th, DPW posts this notice on Nextdoor and Twitter at 7:43 in the morning. MDE tells Baltimore City that notification does not fit the required notice. Finally, on Monday, September 5th, around 10 p.m., the city issues the corrected advisory about the E. coli contamination, missing the federally required public notice within 24 hours. When questioned about our initial investigation, Director Mitchell shifts from saying the city complied with the rules.
But we know that MDE said that the tweet in the Nextdoor wasn't sufficient, and they told you multiple times to issue that BWA Sunday. Why didn't that happen?
We worked closely hand in hand with MDE throughout the entire process.
But Mayor Scott doubles down.
They said that we followed their protocols to a T.
MDE did not say that you guys followed it by a T. They told DPW multiple times on Sunday to issue the BWA, and it didn't happen.
No, I think that what you're saying is you're accusing DPW of ignoring what MDE said.
They did, according to the email.
Since the E. coli outbreak, DPW Director Jason Mitchell submitted his resignation, now staying on the job through the end of June. Joseph Cabetta, the head of water and wastewater for DPW, also resigning. Now Mayor Scott and Director Mitchell tell Fox 45 News there were no violations, saying, "We followed proper protocol when notifying the public," pointing to the social media posts as an example. MDE says the breakdown revealed improvements that should be undertaken by the city.
The city responded to the letter from the state 2 months after it first received it. MDE says the city has submitted their necessary updates. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Next weather maker already moving through. Take a look at all this rain from Bel Air to Edgewood, all the way east to the northern portion of the eastern shore, Elkton, even a couple of lightning strikes with it. This is actually a cold front that is going to be sinking southbound, so the rain will continue to envelop us, especially by morning here in Baltimore. That front kind of begins slinking on through, and off rain during the day tomorrow, and a cold front it is going to be. Take a look at these temperatures. We start off at 54 at 7 a.m. That could be the warmest we get after highs at 80 today. It looks like we're in the 40s and 50s all day tomorrow, with a good damp rain going. I'm going to let you know when temperatures could recover again. That's up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight. The suspected driver in a deadly chase, crash, and building collapse faces new charges in court. The judge's decision today. Former President Trump isn't facing charges this week. Why a decision will have to wait until next week, as the Democratic prosecutor in the case sounds off against Republicans in Congress. And coming up at 10:30 tonight, more problems plaguing the Baltimore Department of Public Works. The new legal action from a group of residents suing in hopes to improve garbage collection.
clear. It's traveling at a high rate of speed. It looks like it's going to go southbound on Wolf and come out.
Well, new developments surrounding a deadly police chase in February in East Baltimore. The crash that followed killed a pedestrian. Charges read in court today against Sean Brunson, now facing manslaughter for his alleged involvement in the chase, in which two cars crashed into a building, causing it to collapse on top of the pedestrian. Brunson was already facing charges related to the stolen vehicle. Investigators say he was driving at the time. His case moves to Baltimore City Circuit Court now as investigators piece together what happened that night.
You just hit a car, collapsed building. Building just fell on it north on Wolf. Get some units, a couple medics.
Let me see it! Let me see it! Let me see it!
54-year-old Alfred Fincher died in the rubble. His sister was in court today and told Fox 45's Shannon Lilly the next court date is scheduled for April. The state's attorney general's office is also investigating police for the handling of this situation.
Baltimore County Police confirm a body was found this afternoon in the Loch Raven Reservoir near the intersection of Delaney Valley Road and Jarrettsville Pike. Police have not determined the identity of the person or how they ended up in the water. The investigation is ongoing.
Just in tonight, a federal appeals court is blocking President Biden's COVID-19 vaccine mandate for federal workers, meaning that it is no longer a requirement here in Maryland, which has the highest concentration of federal workers in the country and over 100,000 people working for Uncle Sam. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans rejected the arguments that President Biden has the same authority as the CEO of a private company.
The country is watching as former President Donald Trump could be indicted and arrested. Trump faces allegations of paying hush money to cover up an affair, but a New York grand jury won't decide at least until next week. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman has the updated timeline.
All eyes focused on Alvin Bragg, Manhattan's district attorney, coming and going quietly and leaving many to guess if a grand jury is about to indict a former president for the first time ever.
It'd be a sad day in America that a former president of the United States would be indicted. I put my trust in the judicial system, as I believe the majority of Americans will.
But Trump supporters and conservatives seeing it very differently.
I think the DA should focus more on prioritizing safety for New Yorkers than settling political scores. I think it's very clear that he campaigned on doing this to the former president.
I think it's a publicity stunt by the DA in Manhattan, personally. I think it's just to bring more limelight to him.
That part of the reason Republicans are demanding Bragg testify before Congress about his motivation and provide communications he's had regarding the case. But Bragg now pushing back. His office saying congressional Republicans are just reacting to Trump's headline-grabbing statement last weekend, creating a false expectation that he would be arrested the next day. And Congress is not the appropriate branch to review pending criminal matters.
Well, it's the world we live in, Scott. It's a very political world. I'm sad for the legal profession that I'm a part of. I think these cases are going to make or break the legal system. Can they withstand the stress? It's like a stress test now on the legal system, all of these Trump investigations.
Or how they'll affect the 2024 race. Trump heading to friendly territory in Waco, Texas this weekend to rally his base and undoubtedly rail against the investigations, to also include his taking of top secret documents and alleged election interference. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Former President Trump remains in Florida, where he'll have two options if he is indicted. He can either surrender to New York authorities or fight extradition. If he surrenders, the criminal proceedings would move ahead.
There will be a mugshot and there will be fingerprints. Then Trump will get his bond, which would be no cash bond. He'll just get released on his own recognizance and then come back to Mar-a-Lago to await the trial.
Well, if Trump opts to remain in Florida, the decision would end up in the hands of his political rival, Governor Ron DeSantis. He would have to be the one to sign the paperwork, but the most he can do is delay possible extradition, according to a Palm Beach County state attorney there in Florida.
Coming up, body camera footage sheds light on a police shooting in Frederick County. What we're learning about the man police were after.
And the problems continue for Hyundai and Kia owners, why the two brands are issuing major recalls of more than 500,000 vehicles.
And around here, it usually takes until, about April 4th to hit 80 degrees. And last year, it took until April 13th to do it. But today, we did it. A high of 80 over at the airport. But by tomorrow, 25 degrees colder. Highs only at 55. And the next couple of days, going to have that rain gear ready with the much cooler temperatures. When the sunglasses come out on Sunday, I'm going to let you know how long that warmer weather is going to last. It's up in my Weather Authority forecast.
We're taking a look now at the Fox box, the top left. Starting next month, transgender women who have gone through male puberty will not be allowed to participate in international track and field competitions. The governing body, World Athletics, says the ban is about fairness and integrity of female competition, but admits no such athletes compete at the highest levels.
On the top right, Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman is in treatment for depression. It's expected he'll return to work soon after another week of care. He checked himself into Bethesda's Walter Reed Hospital seeking treatment more than a month ago.
Bottom left, Ford's electric vehicle unit is losing billions of dollars. The revelations made in a new financial reporting system meant to give investors clarity. The company says the division should be viewed as a startup and believe the Model E will be profitable in 3 years.
On the bottom right, more bad luck for Hyundai and Kia. More than 500,000 cars have been recalled due to fire risks from electrical shorts in the tow hitch. Now, affected owners will get letters soon. For now, owners are advised to park outdoors and not in garages.
You can be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com and click on Mobile Alert Sign Up underneath the station tab. You can also download the Fox 45 app for your smartphone. Just search for WBFF in your app store.
Coming up at 10:30, the legal fight over recycling pickup in Baltimore. Why frustrated residents are taking aim at a second city organization.
TSA agents addressing a rise in weapons confiscated by airport security. How you can properly pack your gun if you plan on bringing it on a plane.
TikTok's global CEO taking heat from all sides Thursday on Capitol Hill. I'm Kayla Gaskins with that story straight ahead.
We're following two big stories at 10:30. Newly released police body camera footage gives context to an officer-involved shooting this month in Frederick County.
But first, the legal battle continues over Baltimore's rolled back recycling plan as the city faces legal action from frustrated residents. We begin there, where this week those same residents are filing another petition in circuit court over the city's Clean Core initiative.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor takes us through their concerns this time around.
Yeah, the group behind this says that the money being used for Clean Core is being misused and misplaced. And until weekly recycling resumes, they are now demanding that the city put a pause on that newly launched program.
Tired of cluttered curbs and a community littered with cardboard.
It would blow all over my yard and the neighbor's yard.
Frustrations and recycling both overflowing for Desmond Stinney.
I had to build a fence to contain it all.
This fence was supposed to be his temporary fix for the city's temporary bi-weekly recycling, but more than a year later, the city says there's still no end in sight for the rolled back services.
It's frustrating when you elect representatives to do a job and that job is ignored, and that's just the position that the mayor is putting us in.
Seeking out his own permanent solution, Stinney has rallied a group of nearly 200 residents to launch a lawsuit against the city, claiming the lack of recycling is a violation of city code. On top of that, the group has now filed a second petition calling for the city to immediately shut down Mayor Scott's Clean Core initiative. The city invested nearly $15 million in the Clean Core program, which hires city residents to empty public trash cans, maintain vacant lots and alleys, and remove street debris across the city, a job Stinney argues is better suited for trained city employees.
One of the biggest concerns we had was worker safety and whether or not the workers are covered by health insurance, if they are entitled to workers' compensation.
It's simply a complete waste of money, and they're harming these employees.
Councilman Yitzi Schleifer echoing the response from residents.
We have the open positions in DPW right now, fully funded PINs, to hire every single one of those employees. They would be making more money working for the city. They would have full benefits.
Especially as DPW grapples with staffing shortages along with failing equipment and antiquated software. Schleifer and Stinney say until recycling is fully back up and running, Clean Core should be brought to a halt.
If these employees were employed by DPW rather than this cleanup effort, we'd be closer to getting recycling back on track.
To spend that large sum of money for community cleanups it really is just silly.
Now, we reached out to the mayor's office and DPW asking for a comment on this new pending litigation. But as of news time tonight, I have not heard back. However, we may hear from them soon. Stinney says that because he filed this as an emergency injunction, a court date will likely be set within the next week. In Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Well, if you see recycling piling up in your neighborhood, let us know. Our reporting gets results. Send in those pictures and videos through chime-in@foxbaltimore.com or through the WBFF app.
New video tonight from Frederick. Police shows what happened before an officer shot and killed a man that they were trying to arrest earlier this month. And we want to warn you, this video is disturbing.
Somebody called and said he's here.
Well, he's not here.
Let me see your hands. Come on. Drop the knife.
No.
Drop the knife. No. Drop the knife.
You have to shoot me. No.
Drop the knife.
No, why are you
Get out of the way. Get out of the way.
Out of the way. No.
Are you watching him?
Yes.
He's right there. Hey, drop the knife.
No.
Hey. Drop the knife.
Well, before that gunfire, police were met by a woman who told them the man they were after wasn't inside that home. The man is 44-year-old Joseph Sherrill. Police eventually make it inside, as you saw, and found Sherrill hiding inside a closet. You can hear police tell him to drop the knife before he moves forward toward them. That's when he was shot and killed. Now, the responding officers are Robert Hess and Fahad Mirza. The state continues to investigate this shooting.
And a Frederick County deputy has been suspended without pay after being charged with second-degree child abuse and assault. Investigators say the 29-year-old Alan Mendahano assaulted a 5-year-old child on Tuesday. Frederick County sheriffs say the actions of one deputy should not reflect on the entire agency.
TSA agents are addressing an alarming rise in guns found at security checkpoints at BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport and other airports across the country. The agency claims more than 6,000 guns were confiscated at airports last year. 88% of those were loaded. But TSA agents stress there is a safe way to transport your gun as long as it's not loaded.
You want to make sure, again, you put your unloaded firearm into the hard side case. Now, if you're traveling with ammunition, you want to make sure the ammunition is in its original case. So this would have been a box of 50 rounds. And even if you only have 6 or 7, that's okay. Leave it in the original box, and you can put it in there. You don't want to put just a handful of loose bullets in there. You want to put them in a Ziploc bag. They should be in their original case.
Well, the TSA says these containers are the only way to transport your gun. This year, 10 guns have been stopped at BWI, on pace to shatter last year's record of 35.
And more than $15 million in funding are headed to BWI thanks to an infrastructure investment from the federal government. The money will be used to reconstruct more than 1,800 feet of pavement in the taxi lane. That's on top of almost $40 million for concourse and baggage handling improvements. It's part of a $550 billion investment in transportation through the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. And a troubling audit from the Anti-Defamation League finding a major jump in anti-Semitic incidents in Maryland in 2022, up 98% last year and also up 50% in neighboring Virginia. A total of nearly 3,700 such incidents were recorded last year across the U.S., including assault, harassment, and vandalism. 106 of those were in Maryland.
Governor Wes Moore is addressing the Anti-Defamation League's findings. He says hate has no home in Maryland, and the recent crimes against the Jewish community are absolutely unacceptable. The CEO of TikTok in Washington, D.C. this week is testifying before Congress. Lawmakers are continuing to weigh the social media giant's future in the United States amid growing privacy concerns. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins explains.
TikTok's global CEO, Shou Chow, fighting for the app's future in America.
There are more than 150 million Americans who love our platform.
Republicans and Democrats highly concerned about the app's links to Chinese parent company ByteDance.
I'm one that doesn't believe that there is really a private sector in China.
And what that means for the access and data the Chinese government has on American users.
That is 150 million Americans that CCP can collect sensitive information on and control what we ultimately see, hear, and believe.
A Wall Street Journal report published Thursday says the Chinese government firmly opposes the Biden administration's demand for ByteDance to sell TikTok. China claiming a sale involves exporting technology and thus has to be approved by the government.
Despite your assertions to the contrary, China certainly thinks it is in control of TikTok.
More alarm bells ringing over the app's content. Congresswoman Kat Kammick drawing attention to a violent video targeting the committee.
This video has been up for 41 days. It is a direct threat to the chairwoman of this committee.
That video taken down shortly after Kammick's comments. And parents also concerned about the power TikTok has over their kids.
TikTok bombards our children with pornography, radical transgender ideology.
The CEO making a direct appeal to American users ahead of the hearing.
Some politicians have started talking about banning TikTok. Now, this could take TikTok away from all 150 million of you.
But his testimony not appearing to assuage fears.
I have seen no evidence that the Chinese government has access to that data. They have never asked us. We have not provided.
Well, you know what? I find that actually preposterous.
TikTok failing to reverse Washington's skepticism at a moment when lawmakers are mulling their next steps. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
And that brings us to our question, our national question of the day. Do you think TikTok is damaging American society? You can scan the QR code on your screen or head to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab. The results will update as you participate. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is laying out his national security concerns on Capitol Hill. He says China is one of the State Department's top priorities, highlighted by China's apparent endorsement of Russia in the Ukraine war.
When it comes to China, this is a generational challenge for us.
The first thing we should be doing is we should be bringing home everything we can possibly do at home, which is almost everything. The price difference of doing it at home and doing it in China has to be what I would call the freedom premium.
Well, some states already taking action on China and other adversaries. South Dakota is preventing its government from conducting any agriculture business with companies from countries deemed enemies of the United States.
And a bounce back day on Wall Street as all three major indices are back in the black following yet another interest rate hike from the Feds on Wednesday. But the U.S. is facing its first ever debt default this summer, and so far there's been no progress towards keeping that from happening. Republicans want spending cuts. Democrats, they say the ceiling must be raised with no conditions attached. President Biden's budget proposal contains tax cuts and reforms to Medicare.
The 17-year-old suspected gunman in Wednesday's shooting at a Denver, Colorado school is found dead near his abandoned car this morning south of the city. Police say Austin Lyle shot two deans while he was being patted down, part of a safety agreement due to recent bad behavior by him, according to authorities. It was a chaotic scene outside that school, and one Fox News reporter was actually reunited with her son live on the air. Watch this.
Just really, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh. I'm just finishing this real quick, okay? Okay, all right, okay. Are you good? Okay, I'm so sorry. There's no way you would have let your kid walk by.
Alicia, if you need to step aside, please do.
Okay. He's okay. He's good. You good? Okay.
Well, you can see the emotion right there by that reporter. Good thing that she was reunited with her son. Denver East High School is closed for the rest of the week. The school will have 2 resource officers on staff for the rest of the school year as a precautionary measure.
Still ahead, a convicted killer turned fugitive after he's released on parole. The new crimes he's accused of in the efforts to track him down on tonight's Maryland's Most Wanted. 11 people shot, 1 victim dead. We're tracking one of the most violent days of the year in Baltimore and ask, are the city's crime-fighting efforts working?
And a nice warm evening, but some clouds and maybe even some showers and thunderstorms overnight, especially to tomorrow morning. And then during the afternoon tomorrow for the bus stop forecast, you're going to need some heavy jackets, only in the 40s to around 50 after 80 today. I'm going to let you know if we have any more warm numbers to come by Weather Authority forecast.
Showers for most of the day, making way for a stunning rainbow this evening in Baltimore. Some shots from the Inner Harbor as well as right outside our studio at about 5 o'clock. Make sure to send us your favorite photos on Chime In. And how about this in Washington, D.C.? The cherry blossoms at the Tidal Basin are now in peak bloom. Check out all of that beautiful color today. And it was a beautiful end to what was a gloomy day across the state. Some really high temperatures. But, Jonathan, unfortunately, we're not finished with the rain this week. And those 80-degree temps are not going to stick around, right?
Well, the 80 we had today does not look like it's going to be sticking around tomorrow. We may chop those temperatures almost, maybe not quite in half, but almost in half by tomorrow afternoon. Notice some of the rain that's from Baltimore to Towson all the way up into Pennsylvania.